This is John Corbett talking to whoever's listening. This is the season finale of the Discard Pile, and we're doing things a little bit differently this time around. My guest, surprisingly, the Chairman Charlie Plaine. Welcome, Charlie.
Hey, John. Good to see you back.
Well, as of today, they let me out of the cage. So I usually like to come prepared to the show, but we got a blank sheet of paper. This is just going to be a conversation about, where do we go from here? We'll get to all that. So why did you come on, Charlie?
I came on because I think there's a lot of miscommunication and a lot of misinformation out there. I think that there's a lot of zealotry and people digging in their heels, and that's not going to solve anything. And I think that at the end of the day, everybody, all the different players on the board have the same goal. I just think that we've gotten too busy in, taking sides and trying to be right and trying to be, just trying to be right and trying to be, extreme at it's my way or the highway. We all need to sort of move past that. And you and I have not exactly been best buddies lately. And
oh no, it's. Did you see the trailer for Civil War? Me and Connor just watched it on the YouTube.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's kind of ironic. It's kind of where we're at. We have a CC Civil War.
But ultimately, I think that the reason I came on here is because if you were going to pick two different representatives of different ideologies, you and I are good, and I think we can have a productive discussion and maybe float some ideas out there. And
yeah,
somebody has to start mending fences and stop taking shots.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, oh, you're gonna ask Charlie this, ask Charlie that, and we had that show. What was it, back in July? You came on.
Yeah.
And I think it was Josh, and then Andrea barged in the door, and so that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? Let's just figure out. As I'm waving a bottle. Why am I waving a bottle of booze? So, we're both kind of tuckered out. We had a long day at work. I had a long day of drinking yesterday. So, like I said, I have nothing prepared. I'm just shooting on the fly. Where do we go from here? What's a good place to go from here?
I think that where we go from here is we realize that there are problems. We realize that different people prioritize those problems in different ways. I think basically the first step is realizing there's a lot of different point of views in the community. There's a lot of different I'm really tired. Sorry, I'm going to lose my train of thought a few times. Basically, the first step is recognizing that IDIC is a thing, and that we're not all going to agree on everything. But you don't have to agree. There doesn't need to be universal agreement, and that a lot of the topics and a lot of the questions that have been raised don't have a right answer. And I think that's part of the problem, is that a lot of people are like, there's a right answer, there's a right way to do this. And I think that's oversimplifying a lot of the issues that are going on. So I think the first step has to be just sort of accepting that we're going to disagree on things, and that things are broken, and that there are problems that may have been ignored or pushed aside. We sort of just need to all agree on that as the starting point, that there are issues.
I got a simple rule from growing up in Jersey. Most things start with an acknowledgement of, all right, I fucked up. And, I think the COC, even we all admit it, the rollout, fucked up, right? No blame, just it was kind of fucked up.
The way that it came out as quickly as it came out was we fucked up. The reasons behind it, perfectly valid, and I think remain valid. I know that there are going to be people.
I will agree with that. I'll concede that point. Yeah, you're right.
That
A COC needed to be put into place. Like your proposal that you just put out right now about how to do it, I think that's how, if it started that way, it could have been okay. If it became, all right, guys, this is going to happen, no matter how you want. But so now let's figure out how we're going to do it. I think that would have been a little bit better.
And to be fair, we did start that way. The plan was always.
No, not a public announcement. It wasn't a public announcement.
There was, and I'd have to go digging. But like the people that we got together that wrote the first COC responded to, I believe, a forum post that was like, "Hey, we're working on this. We need people to come together and help write it."
The first time I saw it was through the ambassador program, if I recall.
That may have been the case. I don't remember exactly, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it wasn't public. Maybe it went through the ambassadors, and that's where we pulled from. I'd have to go look. But
yeah.
It should not have been deployed as hastily as it was. It should not have been deployed without a public review. I fully admit that those were massive mistakes. I mean, I stand by my decision to respond to extreme drama the way I did, and it was mostly. The sheriff model.
I want to get to that. I want to get into that just philosophical debate of conflict, not necessarily always equaling drama. Conflict happens all the time. Once you and I have a disagreement, that's conflict. That doesn't mean we're gonna, go ape shit. It's just that's just the nature of humans, and that's where actually anything productive comes from is conflict.
Yeah, conflict isn't bad, and dissent isn't bad. What's bad is, and really the only thing what the problem is, and really the only thing that the COC was intended to deal with was the escalation of the conflict beyond where the subject matter, right? When you start getting into harassment and ad hominem attacks, that was what the COC was meant to deal with, not I don't like this set. This set's bad, but you're a bad person for doing this type of.
Well, and also, I think I just at a basic core of it, it came down to a no moderation without representation, and it came out like I had nothing. Like I didn't see. A lot of people were like, I didn't see this. Now it's like this. These are rules now. Here you go. And people are like, they felt like they didn't have a say in it. It was kind of imposed on them, and so. It became a combative situation.
I agree.
If it was fully public, like the proposal now, which, all right. So I'm kind of have we accepted the point that you and I kind of came to a deal like, all right, well, let Sykes take care of it because you've known Sykes longer than I have. I know Sykes, you know Sykes, and we know Sykes. Eventually, at the end of the day, will just do what Sykes does, which is what you want in a moderator. So, and they've already made a little bit of changes. That's why I'm out of my cage. So, is that the general consensus now that we're just going to let Sykes be Sykes?
Well, I thought so, and the impetus behind the proposal that I made, which I need to apologize to the moderators because I caught them off guard and to a degree
you cut him off. You cut Sykes off at his knees with that.
I did, and I didn't mean to because the intention was not ever to like. And I think I've made this clear, but the intention wasn't like. You guys are doing a bad job. I think even the people that hate the COC generally think the moderators are doing an okay job. Like there are exceptions, but
there's a couple bad apples. But that's
the intention was never for me to say like we're going to replace the moderators. Like the goal was we're going to fix the COC, and then the moderators are going to enforce the new one. And I did catch them off guard, but the whole point of the proposal was we were losing people again. Like. One of the common arguments of the people that were against the code of conduct was people are leaving the boards because of this, and that happened. Some of them came back, some of them didn't. But the counter argument was people had left the boards because there wasn't something, So we were losing players for both reasons. But then what started happening is all the fighting about the code of conduct started pushing people away from the website. So when all three of your options are resulting in doing significant damage, you have to do something. So that was the origin of the proposal, was just to stop the fighting.
Yeah, it was actually kind of contained. A lot of people I think were dramatic about oh, there's chaos in the streets. I mean, it was on the message board itself. It was kind of contained into like one thread and then a couple little bit.
It was, but people were still. It was still
Oh, yeah.
like it was a thread right on Front Street, and you really couldn't not see it. Like you could choose not to read it, and I know the people who did, but it was like
No, but that was. I'm
it was
not gonna,
airing all our dirty laundry, and it didn't.
Yeah, I'm
need to
not.
be-
Well, I'm not going to bullshit. That's what I was doing. I mean, I felt like it was even, and I'll tell you, from the moment I saw it on the, you can go back and check the moderator boards. I said, this is a witch hunt. That's just how I felt, whether right or wrong. It was like, oh, there's a lot of things they don't like, and they want to get rid of people. So, and I said that right from Jump Street too. So, I mean, I was starting a lot of shit. I mean, like I said, shit. It was a civil war. Shit was said, shitty things on both sides, and I was actively causing disarray. Now, unfortunately, other people are now have organized and have taken it to the next level and started a separate message board. I haven't checked it out yet. I was totally against that because both sides came to me, was like, oh, restart Team Jersey, stuff like that. And I'm like, that ship has sailed. So what would be your response to people who are for starting a separate message board?
On the surface, I don't have a problem with there being more places talking about Trek. I don't think the community is big enough to really justify that. But I used to run a fan site for the Star Trek card game. The website that became the CC's website was a website that I ran that was for people to hang out and talk about Trek. So did you?
There was all sorts of. Well, I did it because Decipher was a company, and they could sure as hell say, "Get the fuck out of here."
Yeah.
They're protecting their product or protecting their money, so they can say, "Hey, I don't care what you're going to say. You're out of here." They had every right to ban me for anything good or bad that I said. So, but then, obviously, I just felt that when we started the CC, it was, this is it. This is the only shot we got, and we had a common cause. Our common cause was just to keep playing the game. That's it. And I felt more things kept getting added onto that. Everyone's got to have fun. Everyone's got to say the right thing on the boards. And I think it's just basically the point of the CC is just to keep playing. And when we add things on top of that, that's when you have fractions of the community.
I agree to an extent, but the organization and the support network of the organization should evolve with the community. And you can belittle the survey and the methods that we used, but there was clear indication that people wanted more moderation. And here's the other thing to think of, and I'll take full blame for this. If we'd put the code of conduct in place with a team of moderators 5 years ago or 6 years ago, it would be old hat news by now. No matter how we'd done it, it'd just be a thing. But it was the lateness of the change combined with the suddenness of the change. But you had asked me, what do I think about a separate group of message boards? And I think that in theory, I don't have a problem with it. But the reality is, and I think you and I both agree with this point now, the community is just not large enough to really justify it, especially when this other site is sort of, I don't feel, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't feel like this group, or at least the leadership of this group, has any interest in seeing these problems resolved, and that they're looking to create to secede, for lack of a better term, and not like this is a big deal, but to basically say, all right, we're the new group that's running things, and that's a losing proposition. That is a lose-lose deal for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, my goal was to simply survive. I really actually didn't have a lot of other causes. I felt like my head was in a guillotine, and my goal was to get it out.
And I'm sorry that you feel that way, because that was not the intention. The intention was never, let's get these people out of the community, because quite honestly, if that had been what we wanted, we could have just done that. Well,
I wanted to address one challenge that was, as I announced the show, it was from Alan, the guy who does the period of reviews, and he asked you guys on the show about the Gen Con money. I posted something on Facebook. I guess someone sent that in as a question, and then he asked it on the show. But then he later accused me of making accusations of theft, and that's not quite what I did. The funny thing about the money is I didn't give a shit about the money. I didn't care one bit about the money. When you're fighting for survival, you hit where they're weak, and that's where they were weak. So if that shot was below the belt, I can't apologize for it, but there was enough there where it was there. So I just want to address that. I mean, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say is that I struck a low blow, and there we are. So with your proposal, are we going to go forward with that, or are we going to go forward with Sykes and the moderator team straightening out the COC?
I think that what we should do is, I think that we can do both. And if the first thing that Brian and the moderators do is alter the approval process, so that there has to be a public, like right now, as I understand it, the way the changes are made is the moderators have all the power to make the changes, and they either are required to give the public a chance to comment or are doing so as a courtesy. I think if we formalize that, where the moderators want to make a change, it goes to the public, there's a vote on it, a simple majority vote to adopt or not adopt, and then if you do that, now the public has a say on everything. Basically what I'm saying is the difference between my proposal and our current system is not significant. I believe that the code of conduct as it is, with some adjustments, is going to be great for the community.
Yeah, and that's what I agree with. I think if we try to do the proposal now and get a subcommittee with 5 people and all this stuff, we might end up with something else we have to fix later. I mean, we already have. I think I told you before, off the record, we just need to bring it down about 25% because there's just a lot of. I got problems with, the reasonable bystander stuff, and then people reporting other people. It creates a culture of snitches, and I know snitches is kind of like a mature thing to do, but it's kind of what happens. So,
let's make sure we don't vilify or target people who reported people, because
but there was abuse of the system. There was. Yeah, I know you.
I can't say that.
There was quote. Come on, we're breaking down the fourth wall here. Everyone, listen. All I do is 10 bar and I listen. People like to tell me things. Not naming names, besides Neil Timmons, who already disowned me. There was a lot of frivolous reports, a lot. So, I mean, if we're going to let that happen, that's fine. But we're not going to pretend like it's not a thing.
I just don't want I don't want anybody to be made to feel bad for reporting a post. If somebody was intentionally reporting posts that were like, "Hey, I went to the mall today. I enjoyed a steak sandwich. Have a nice day." If that got reported, then I would agree that there's a problem. But the point is, I just want to be clear about this. I don't want to go down the forum I don't want to go down the road of this person filed a lot of reports, so they're a bad person. They were doing bad things because they just did what we allowed them to do.
Well, but there has to be some mechanism for the moderators to go, "Hey, listen, you're reporting this person a lot. There needs to be some kind of mediation through moderation." I don't know.
I think that's a great idea. But again,
Sykes did post one time about, "Hey guys, you can't just report stuff that you don't like." And he posted that because of one time I made a silly post comparing First Contact Day to Easter, just something silly, and it was like, and someone reported that because I'm offending their beliefs or something, and that's not a violation of the COC. So it was just a little disconnect of what can be reported. Yeah, you're right. If someone thinks it's a violation of the COC, yes, report it. But when a moderator starts seeing 25 reports by person A against person B, there needs to be room for the head moderator to step in and somehow take care of that.
I think, and I told this to Brian, I think that in a way the moderator's job is like part Worf part Deanna, part Picard, right? Like part security, part counselor, and part diplomat.
Yeah, but Deanna was really bad at her job. I'm sorry.
Okay. Then go Esri, whatever you want to say.
Oh no.
Like, but what I will agree with you in is that if the moderators identify a pattern between, a pattern of behavior where there's a conflict or something along those lines, I think it would be great to have a system where the moderators could be like, hey, person A and person B, you guys aren't getting along. What can we do to deal with this? But I will never support the concept that that having the report button and somebody pushing it is flawed premise. Like I agree with what you're saying is that if there is a pattern of behavior that is concerning or showing that there might be a conflict, the moderator should have the ability to be like, let's resolve this so that, you're not reporting everything that they make. But,
yeah. And that, well, also freeze the process as that person is getting reported. Like, let's put a hold on this. And while we're sending you two, if we got to treat them like children, we got to treat them like children, both parties. All right. You two are frozen until you're, this is settled. So we don't have this kind of situation again.
I'm 100% in favor of empowering the moderators to do more conflict resolution. I'm against 100% vilifying people that use the system to report posts. That's just not acceptable.
Yeah, but I think there's a middle ground there. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
Yeah, I think we're saying the same thing. Just
we might be. All right, so like I said, you said there's a little succession movement, and they posted. By the way, I don't know why we're mincing words. TK posted a list of grievances. Now, I would hope you read them. Did you read them?
I've read them. We've been discussing. Yeah, I've read them. We have not officially responded, but we are aware of them.
Yeah, no. Normally, I would have parsed out the bullshit from the real, because as a dissenter, as a professional rabble rouser, I think John Carter made a great post, by the way, about about dissidents. Like, hey, we need assholes like him. So I approached, well, TK approached me. Let's put it bluntly, and I told him, all right, what's your real list of demands? What do you really want? Because I don't blame him for posting a lot of shit. That's just what you do if you want shit done. What do you feel on his list that was a legitimate concern of theirs?
I think the biggest issue that I don't know if I want to, if that's the right way to handle this, because let's. I think everybody who gave TK something that they were concerned about believes it's a legitimate concern. So I think
what happened to Neil's not a legitimate concern.
It doesn't matter. Everything on that list, presumably, and I'm going to give TK the benefit of the doubt. Everything on that list presumably was something that somebody told him was a problem.
Well, you're being very nice, because I just already said earlier that when you're trying to enact change, you use any means you got at your disposal. I had the money issue.
Yeah.
I didn't give a fuck. I don't care who gives you money, Charlie. The CC, like I said, I actually don't care. You did, and I stated in a previous post that he didn't do nothing wrong. Even if Charlie was using it on hookers and blow, the CC is his site. If you give the site money, you're giving Charlie money. It was just a way to rabble rouse. So, I mean, you're being nice when you say every concern is legitimate, but even I won't go that far.
I think every concern is legitimate to somebody, right? Somebody feels they're being blacklisted from design, and even the fact is,
not blacklisted.
We do not have a blacklist. There is not a list of people, in written or not written, that says these people will never be on design. The reality of that situation is the opportunities for designers is extremely narrow, right? And the number of people that want to do it is always going to be greater than the number of people that can do it. And if somebody has repeatedly tried to get through that barrier and failed, I could understand why they feel like they're being blacklisted, even though there is no blacklist. So while I think some of these concerns are written in an extremely provocative way, which is definitely intentional, that a lot of these are phrased to create ire, even though it's not true there's a blacklist, I can understand why somebody might feel that. Now, the problem I have with this list is I feel it's very, while the concerns are real. I'll be blunt. Multiple people have approached Thomas, offering mediation, offering solutions, and have been all rebuffed. Every time that we have asked Thomas, what are you looking for? What do you want here? What is the solution? The answer is evasion or double talk or I'll get back to you. So,
yeah, I mean, we both said privately he kind of stole my. He turned my underground movement into a revolution, and even I was like, all right, I'm glad you organized. I respect what you did. I told him, I said that was a good post for what you're trying to do. All right, now what do you want to do with it? Where do you want to go from here? And then I got a lot of posturing, and then I actually got told what to do. And we're all here right now because I don't like being told what to do. So TK and me are not even close to being on the same page. But getting back to design, this is what I've heard. Because, I go around, now that I have a truck, I just go around and play Trek. And 2 or 3 times, people have come to me, and they said, it seems like the designers don't actually play the game. Meaning that most of your designers on your staff right now aren't what they consider active players, either perception or reality. Doesn't matter. If they feel that way, other people, feel that way. I mean, is that a concern you think you have?
Or
they have?
I understand the belief. We have some designers that don't play terribly often. That is a concern that we have identified, and it was one of the reasons we've implemented the 4-man team. Ben Hosp just finished an internship on Face of the Enemy, and he was selected because he is a high-level player who plays the game a lot.
That's what I told those people. But you're kind of he's on the team now because some guys took his ideas and they made them way in the sets. But I think
we've only been doing that was the first set that we were able to do the 4-man team on. We have Jeremy Benedict.
The set before was a 4-man team. It just didn't work out. Come on, let's be honest.
Okay, we tried. We tried the 4-man team. It kind of fell apart.
You try to sneak that one in on me.
Okay, it was the first set that successfully had a 4-man team. How about that? But to answer your actual question, it is a legitimate criticism that we are taking steps to address, and this is one of the things that the way I read this list is it's not on a way it's presented like these are a list of things that are a problem right now. But when you read it, some of these things are old problems that have been dealt with or are in the process of being dealt with. So it doesn't read like here are things that we want to change. It's here are reasons that we're upset, and that's legitimate and that's fine. But I don't know what TK's goal here is. He's even contradictory in his post, right, where he says we're not willing to engage in debate. And
yeah, you can't say that.
This is a vote of no confidence. So my appeal is if Thomas is dedicated to leaving the community and creating a new one, I can't do anything about that. If that's how all of his followers feel, I can't deal about that. I would like to think that the majority of them actually want to see their problems solved. And so that's one of the reasons I'm here today, is to open dialogue with anybody that wants to talk to me about whatever problem they have. I've tried with Thomas, it hasn't worked, so I'm willing to talk to anybody.
Like any good general, when your numbers are small, you make them look bigger. I'm not saying TK. Listen, it was real small when I started just raising hell, and yeah, you're right. When all I wanted to do was keep the debate going. Like that's really the only thing you can do when you're just trying to enact change. And you don't ever say we're not going to debate something. That doesn't make any sense. You want change, you got to have people. It's when people are saying there is going to be no debate when there's a problem. When it comes to a separate message board, it's already been proposed. I think it was by John Carter's excellent post about having an unmoderated board. So my simple solution is make there a board. We'll bring them in, and that'll be an unmoderated board. If you say, all right, what you have, I'll give it to you. As a Hellraiser, as an organizer, I'm going to give you a little tip, Charlie, since I've been beating down on you for the last couple months. The worst thing you could have is somebody taking your deal or calling your bluff. They want a separate message board where they can't be moderated. Why don't you give that to them? Why don't you give John Carter's proposal of an unmoderated board? Then you take it away from them. Because I'm against a separate message board. I'm with you. I said, but Charlie, 8 years ago, when you asked me to be on the committee, that was it. That was the deal. That was the covenant, the nerd covenant that was made. I'm not going anywhere else. This is the ship I signed up for. I'm going down with the ship or I'm walking the plank. That I've done a couple times. But, so why don't we, what are your thoughts on having an unmoderated message board?
I did some research about why, because that was in the original proposal, was an unmoderated message board. And I did some research about why we vetoed that. And there were two reasons. One, we didn't want it to have any chance of being the first landing point for somebody. Right? Like, you don't want somebody to come to your forum and see a bunch of trash talking and a bunch of swearing and this and that and the other thing as their first forum experience. At the time, I don't think we realized we had the technology to maybe prevent that. So that was one issue. The other issue was the fear or concern that the people I'll just, as an example, that you could go on the unmoderated board and say all sorts of bunch of shit about me. And then I either had to be on that moderated board to see what you were saying, or I had to not be part of it and then know that an infinite amount of shit could be talked about me. And some people have a problem with that. So my suggestion was to have a social agreement, not a moderation agreement, but a social agreement that you don't take shots repeatedly at people that aren't on the unmoderated board. That if TK and Nate want to go at each other, they can, but you don't go after somebody that's not there.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I have a rule that I try not to talk shit about anybody that's not in a chat room or in real life. You just don't do that. You're right, and that's a decorum thing. So everything you said, I agree with, but I don't think that can be done. That can't be regulated. If I go on the boards, and you've already stated, I'm not going to be part of these message boards, or I'm not going to be part of the unrated message boards, and I just go on a Charlie rant. Fuck Charlie, he's a piece of shit. All this stuff. I think it's the other people who need to put me in check. Like, he doesn't see
that's what I'm saying. It's not a moderator thing, and I never wanted it to be a moderator thing. It was meant to be a social contract, like, and you're allowed to go on a rant about me if I do something you don't like, but it shouldn't be the default okay, right? Like, ultimately, if you want a place where you can just be mean to people all the time, I don't think that this forum is. It's
not even me. John Carter said it best in his post. You need just random jackassery. You need it's an outlet.
Somebody who challenges the rules.
Yeah, you need an outlet for it. And like I said, he said it perfect. If there's merit to it, people will notice it. If there's no merit to it, it's just bullshit. People see it. No one takes it seriously. So even if I was on the boards, I'm gonna risk it here because me and Andrew just made peace. Even if I went on the boards and just started saying vile, terrible, fucked up shit, and then people would see it and be there like, oh man, that guy, that guy's an animal. Why would he say such things? There's no merit to it. So it gets filtered out in the background of you turn into a nut job on a corner yelling crazy shit if you do it too much.
I think that's a great idea, and I like I said, the two reasons we didn't do an unmoderated forum were you didn't want it to be the first impression, and B, you didn't want the behind the whispering behind somebody's back thing. So I think if you address both of those concerns, I believe, don't quote me on this, but I believe that we have the opt-in technology. We have a way where you can.
Is it a warning label underneath the board? Just warning. This is unmoderated. If you don't like shit, don't look at this board. Don't go here. Do not beware.
I think you could do that as long as
there'll be trolls here.
As long as it doesn't, light up orange, because a lot of people have that. Like, I know I'm like this, where if you see it, It's orange. You kind of have to click on it.
Isn't that, no, hold on, real talk. From the other side, don't some people like, I mean, some people, they act like they don't want to look at it. They act like they don't like the bullshit, but they like the bullshit.
But that's what the people who do that have the right to opt into it. That's all I'm saying.
And then they like to be like, oh, this is all outrageous. This is outrageous. They like to be that guy. They like to be that character, and then regulate.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, if we do an unmoderated forum, it's got to be truly unmoderated, except for the unforgivable sins.
Oh yeah. We know. Yeah, no sexually explicit. I'm actually, people were posting up other like, oh, these message boards, those message boards, and I'm like, I really don't care what other people do in life and on the internet. But I did like the 13-year-old sister rule. How is like, just explain this post. I think the moderators came to somebody and say, all right, explain this to me like it's your 13-year-old sister. I think that's a good baseline, a guideline to have.
Yeah.
And we can keep that. We can even keep that to an unmoderated, or not like there'll be no penalties, but it's like, hey, like, don't be an animal. Just keep it, rated R, nothing more. No, this is the rated R boards.
I think that it's perfectly workable to have an unmoderated forum, and I think it was going to happen. I think it's a good suggestion. I think John's post was excellent, and I'd like to see it get done sooner rather than later, because it would solve a lot of the problems that a lot of people have. And as long as there is and it's basically just a human decency thing that you don't talk shit about somebody that's not there, or you don't do it a lot. And again, it wouldn't be a moderated thing. It's not moderating an unmoderated board. It's just as a general rule, we all agree we're not going to talk crap about people that aren't here.
Yeah, I'd be okay with. That's up to each individual. Don't be. That's not a very alpha thing to do. As I like to rile people up with that. I do got to bring it back to a second because on the chat room, and I'll take questions from the chat room if anyone gives a shit, because I certainly as fuck didn't prepare for this show. And a lot of, and Andrea brought it up in the chat room, and it's a valid position, but it's the, and she's not the only one to have it. It doesn't, the no harm, no foul to the excessive reporting, or someone who reports, I won't say excessive, just someone who reports another person a lot because they feel that person is acting up. I don't like the no harm, no foul policy, because I had stuff overturned. So when you have something overturned, it means that the call wasn't right. So there is a harm to reporting someone over and over and over. I mean, that's just my point of view. I hope she probably didn't give a shit what I had to say.
One other thing I noticed, there actually was a public forum post almost a year ago to the day asking for people to join the panel to write up a code of conduct. If anybody wants it, I'll link it. I have the link, but it was called Forum Discourse Conduct and Status, posted November 25th, 2014. I'm just saying, it was there, and that's where the panel came from.
All right. But all right. So yes, it was public, but it was but as you saw, a lot of people, including myself, didn't. I mean, I saw it through the moderator boards, and I didn't like it, and a lot of people didn't even see that. So, all right, it was public, but a lot of people didn't see it.
And there's a comment in the chat room now. Pants of the Tal Shiar says, an unmoderated board won't help us figure out what is appropriate for the moderated boards. And that's 100% true.
Yeah.
I don't think the unmoderated board is a solution to still fixing the code of conduct.
But it gives other people an outlet, which calms down the rhetoric and all the infighting.
It does. It's a safety valve. It's going to let people blow off steam in a safe environment where they don't fear. They can go on a rant about how shitty the mods are, and they're not going to get in trouble. So I think it is a good solution. So, and I think Andrea makes a good point. We mentioned earlier. She says, "I would rather have the mod team work as a middle party, negotiate, give some diplomatic bridge. If someone is reporting someone a lot, try to bridge the gap." And we had talked about that, where the moderators take on a bit of a, mediator role if they detect a situation like that. I think that'd be great. It's a lot of work, and I don't know that I can't volunteer them for it, but I think that'd be a good place for us to be.
Yeah, but and that's fine as long as both people. You always got to be willing to talk. And there was a lot from There was some from the anti-COC side, but from the pro-C, there was even yourself, Charlie. I've known you for a long time, and this is the only time you were always like not willing to budge on an issue, and that's where I think some of the complaints about favoritism and a lot of green badges being passed around. I mean, that's where it came from, right?
I guess I don't find a lot of. Again, I understand that somebody believes that is an issue.
But do you realize the optics?
I understand the optics. I get the optics, and I understand.
Not important? They're important, right?
What?
Are they important?
Yes.
Optics have to be. Yeah.
They are, but it's not. I dispute that is happening, and that's where the disconnect is. An allegation has been made. I cannot disprove, right? Like the allegation is there's favoritism. The only way that I can prove that is not showing favoritism, which is not something that you can disprove.
Yeah.
So here's what I say about allegations like that. If you think there is favoritism between continuing committee members over non-continuing committee members, you need to point it out. That's the only way. I accept that it may be happening. I accept that I am too close to see it if it is happening. If I'm doing it, I'm doing it unintentionally, and I am too close to the situation to be aware that I'm doing it.
That's fair. That's a fair statement. All right.
So the only thing that can be done to make it better is when it happens, you have to point it out. I'm not saying you personally. I'm saying if you see a situation where you believe the continuing committee is favoring its own members over somebody else, it has to be pointed out, and then it gets dealt with.
Well, during the last couple of weeks, I mean, people were jumped on. I mean, from the pro-COC side, I'm saying everyone was guilty of being assholes. Like Ben Hoff said, fuck everybody. But when people would say, oh, it's not a witch hunt, there was like post to post, and there's not favoritism, blah, 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 and you can't abuse the system, blah, blah, blah. So people have said that, to be fair.
There's extreme... This is the problem, right? Is that we're all up against the wall as far away as we can possibly be from each other, because I don't know how that happened. It's going on in America, too. So it's not like it's a Trek issue. There's literally nothing in the middle. Because all the people in the middle are like, I don't want any part of this. It's the people who are arguing are on extreme opposite sides, and that extremism is dangerous because it's you don't give, you don't compromise, you don't accept. And I was guilty of this to an extent. Like there are some things I'm not going to compromise on. There is going to be a COC. There is going to be a team that enforces.
The problem is you kept even at the recent period of review, you kept saying that we're not going to get rid of it, and then just about everybody stopped saying that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like you were fighting a position that people had
given up.
Yeah, like a long time ago. Like no one was saying anymore like get rid of this. We were just like let's tone this down. This isn't working. So we finally no one was listening to each other.
We got there. We took a
But back to the optics in a short frame of time. All right, we're going to be real again. All right, Chris is the chief programmer. I don't know his title. I'm not really good with titles. Real or CC. And then his wife got a green badge. Mike was the North America guy. Amber becomes a moderator, green badge. They're already in Seattle. New OP guy. Let's give it to Ken. So now you have 3 badges that came out of right there. So you have 2 OP guys in the same region. How's that supposed to make everybody else feel? Like and also the Minnesota crew. I never heard the term California Club, and it's always kind of been that way. I've made asshole remarks about the de facto capital of the CC. So can you see that the optics of it don't look good as people aren't being represented?
I guess. I mean, as somebody who is involved in picking the director of organized play, if more people wanted representation, they should have applied. I mean, we had 3 applications. I asked several more people. We actually
what does it say?
That's not true. We had 5 applications and we chose 3 people to interview. Now, I'm all for being more inclusive. I want to find ways, and this is the thing, as we're working through the nonprofit status process, we're going to have to have more formalized process for how we pick people and who gets to vote on it. And I want to do more representation, but I accept that people believe the optics are bad. I refute the truth that it's simply not true that we're giving green badges to people that aren't deserving of them. I mean, okay, let's take Andrea as an example.
Deserving is probably not the best word.
Okay,
I understand that you said
we never gave a badge to somebody because of who they're related to,
who they're connected to, who they're connected to.
Look, and I'll use Andrea as an example because a lot of people like to pick on her. She is Chris's wife. She's been Chris's wife. I think they've been married 14 years. She rejoined the community after Gen Con like 3 years ago. And she was just a player. She just was part of the community. She started participating. She started doing more. She started volunteering. She volunteered to join the art team. So she's been working on expansions for like 2 years. She's been making a lot of the graphics. And then the guy that was making the graphics for the achievements, all the little achievement icons, he stepped down. So Andrea stepped up. She applied for the Tribbles. Johnny was no longer willing and able to do Tribbles graphics. So we put up a call for somebody to be the Tribbles art manager. Andrea applied. There was another woman that applied. We had originally selected both of them. And then the other woman that applied asked me what the salary was. And I had to tell her that there was no salary. So Andrea, she has earned her green badge. She has done a lot of volunteering. She has moved up. She earned that position. It was not given to her because she was dating Chris or married. Married
I got you. No one's saying she's not qualified or shouldn't have it.
I do accept that the optics look bad, but again, that's not something that I can.
But a lot of isn't it say a lot of that you said the only people who are asking to do these jobs are people who are already connected to previous green badges. Isn't that a larger problem at hand that like no one wants to help anymore? Maybe they don't feel like they felt like it's become a little bit of a club, a little bit. And this is my word. Now that we see all these green badges, I call it West Coast domination. It's just for good or for
okay. So what would your suggestion be, John?
Somehow find people. I don't know how we're going to do it. We got to find people. We know there's players. It's not just players in San Diego and Seattle. There's play groups in other places.
Yeah.
And well, let me ask when we can get those people. But let me also another question, just to sheer volume. After 8 years, this game has 1/3 the players and 3 times the number of green badges. Why do we need? Does every person who volunteers? The errata lead doesn't have a green badge.
Yet.
Why does the Tribbles, not to bash Andrea, but why does the Tribbles art manager need a green badge? Why does the public relations manager? If you can volunteer, designers don't have green badges. So
why does the green badge offend you? Like it doesn't mean
no.
anything.
It looks because you go in a chat room and people make a joke now that it's like 7 green badges and one body who's not. So it creates whenever you have an organization throughout any period of time, a clique rises up in that organization, and it usually for bad results. So the optics matter. Maybe just not every volunteer needs a green badge.
That's a suggestion that we can look at. I mean, at the same time, the people that volunteer earned those, and maybe the solution is more. Maybe everybody who volunteers gets one. I don't know. I'm not dismissing your claim. I'm just saying, let me address what you said is that we've tripled the number of green badges. Well, what's been, one of the number one complaints has been over the last 5 years? Charlie does too much. So the solution to Charlie doing too much.
My complaint was, no, you had too many people doing too many jobs. It was,
but that's not one of the number one complaints. One of the
who else besides? And you were right. It's a valid complaint, but who else besides you was complaining? I mean,
I don't have the list in front of me, John. But it's been in every period of review since we started doing them. And so what the solution to that was create positions to do that. Like the brand managers came about because that was something that I could offload. The new vice chairman is something that I'm offloading. The director. Well, we've always had director organized play. What else have I?
public relations.
The social media manager. That was a position that was created directly because it's something that I'm not doing now. Bringing in more designers is something that was done so that, like, my goal is to be able to come to the brand manager and be like, I'm bored. I want to do a set. And the brand manager is like, okay, that's it. I don't want to be on the regular rotation for either game anymore. And me, over the last 2 years, that's been what we've been like. You can't just, and I think this is what some people don't understand, is we work a year ahead in design. And you can't just say, all right, I'm out. Not if you want the game's quality to be maintained. You have to, pass on this body of knowledge. And we've been documenting things and we've been training people. And now that we have lead designers on both sides of the games, my name's going to be on a lot less things. I can't go back in time and take my involvement away from everything I've been worked on. So yeah, I mean, even in 3 years, if you look at the 11 years of the continuing committee, I will have been on more stuff than I wasn't. But I'm sorry. I mean,
if one of the complaints about that, but more importantly, you think the fourth designer thing is working? You think more cooks in the kitchen?
I think it's too soon to tell. I think, like I said, we've only done one expansion with it, really, on the 2E side, and we've got our first ones for the 1E side going now. I think it's too early to tell, but more different opinions isn't a bad thing. And I think the thing that's going to keep it from being too many cooks in the kitchen is the design of the fourth spot is you come in, you do one set, and that's it. Only if you come in and like really perform well and really impress do we bring you on permanently. So it's a rotating cast of design. It's a rotating cast of people getting different opinions in, getting different. And I'm sure Ben will tell you, Ben was not a yes man. He got to make decisions and he got to be part of the expansion. And Jeremy Benedict is working on 2E set after next as our fourth man.
He was very excited in Minnesota. He had good ideas though. He was selling me on some.
Ben had some good ideas.
No, every set. No, now as people's criticism about there not being enough designers who play the game, and even I told him, I said, and I think the 3-man, I think actually 2-man teams is better, but you didn't agree with me. But I like the 3-man team because I liked the dynamic of one casual guy, he brings your flavor. You got one tier 1 guy who lets you know what the players are going to actually do with cards, not what the benign use. And then you got like someone like you, a middleman, someone who can, and then who's the people person who can just make sure everything meshes together. So I don't know. I wasn't a fan of the fourth man design.
Face of the Enemy is better because Ben Hosp was on that set. And, there's a fourth guy on Tyler's first set, Crichton, Danny Giddings. I'm not on that team, so I don't know how he's doing. But Jeremy's on Scorpius, which is the set after next. He is doing a great job in that set. He's bringing different perspectives.
How did she get in again? She's the only person who can break in on the discard pile.
Okay, so you invited me. And I immediately.
Of course I invited you. Andrew, we got to learn how to kayfabe. We got to learn how to tell stories. Yeah, you're breaking in on the discard pile. So.
Thunder for everybody.
Once again, all right, so here's your shot. All right, Andrew, we're going to turn the tables. I'll let you take over the show. Go ahead, read me the riot act.
I think you and I have come to a really good agreement.
Yeah, but we played. Yeah, but how it would go from 180s? We played triples, we laughed, and then you said every experience with John's been negative the last 6 months, and it's like we played at Gen Con and then triples online a bunch of times. So I was like, everything's not negative.
Okay, not everything is negative with you. We both agreed that we had some interactions that crossed some lines. And
I fully admit it. Listen, like I said, I didn't give a fuck about the money. I didn't care about the money. I was just using, like I said, for real or imaginary, I felt the COC was a way to get rid of people. So that was where I was coming from. So I fucked up.
I can see from my point of view, it wasn't targeting for me. It wasn't that I was targeting you. I was targeting the behavior that was hurtful to me. Like, I will admit to that. And, I mean, like I said, we both cross lines, and I think moving forward, we've sort of agreed that we're just going to call each other on our shit. That, you know, if you say something that is offensive to me, I'm going to call you on it and tell you to stop. And if you don't stop, then we'll have an issue. But hopefully we won't. So.
And now Charlie stated earlier in the show that you started getting active about 3 years ago. And about 2 years ago is when everything started changing. And you are the voice behind the COC and kind of behavior. You said, all right, some behavior you didn't like. I mean, maybe the board's always needed a COC, but everything functioned, you know. So, I mean, so now can't you see that maybe it went too far and that we should have an unmoderated board? You got to give people an outlet for their bullshit, that even if you don't like it, they have a right to say it. Did you get me on that one?
Sorry,
Andrew?
was that directed to me?
Yes, it was. Andrew. I don't care about Charlie anymore.
I
don't give a shit about it.
I do think that we need a code of conduct. I really like some of the ideas that have been put forward for changes. I think that it needs to be not so much about, here's a rule, you broke it, this shit happens. There needs to be a middle ground. There needs to be communication. I would really like to see the mod team more involved and invested with bridging the gap and being that moderator for issues that arise, you know, and for people to just sort of use common sense. You know, the whole "don't be a dick" rule was there because
don't say it.
I'm just saying that was sort of a common sense idea, and we need to get back to that. And I think that we should have an unmoderated forum. I like the idea of having it. I like the idea of there being just sort of a gentleman's agreement of, you know, if you cross a line like with you and me, someone says, dude, that wasn't cool, you stop. Like, you know, you don't do it again.
All right, now, I did, I put the COC into practice. I took 3 bans. The second one I took on purpose. The third one I did not take on purpose, the ultimatum. And all I did was put it into practice, and people saw a guy get permabanned for being an asshole, and they absolutely rejected that. They said that, you know, most of the people, you know, were like, so you got to admit
Some
that.
of the people.
No, I think most people are not cool with someone getting permabanned for even making 3 strikes in a span, for being, as someone put it,
you would have been eligible to reboot.
No, just the concept of even 6 month bans is way too long. We're just looking at about crime and punishment. And then we all know there's certain unacceptables. We don't have to say what those are. But
behaviors, not people. They're unacceptable behaviors.
No, I meant like the absolutes. The absolutes. You can't post.
I know, but I just wanted to be clear that you're talking about there are certain things you can't do, not certain people who are unacceptable on the forums.
Okay. Yeah. But the point I'm trying to make with Andrew is the concept of banning someone for more than even a month at a time is a lot of more than I would bet dollars to donuts. It's way more than 50% that have a problem with even a guy like me. And people don't like me, Andrew. And there's people who don't like me that said this is too much. Banning someone and then having to have them ask to be reinstated. I would never ask to be reinstated. You send me on my way, I'll go on my way. So, don't you see that might be a little too far?
I think there has to be a middle ground. I think that rule was put in place so that someone that was going to continue to reoffend and continue to be hurtful to members of the community, that you wouldn't put the members of the community through that every month. But that there does need to be some middle ground, that if someone is, that they want to just be an asshole all the time to everyone, but obviously they shouldn't be part of the community. Their actions should not be part of the community.
The first code of conduct was written with the programmatic view, right? Where it's there's no context to violations. There's simply just violation, punishment, violation, punishment. And I think a lot of the argument against the current COC is that the punishment should fit the crime, right? Problem is, if you want to codify that in any sort of meaningful way, it's pages and pages and pages and pages and pages, and then that means something that isn't covered is now a loophole, and it's just, we're gamers as a community. We're going to find a rule set and poke holes in it. That's what we do.
Yeah, that's why we got to keep it something simple, like a 13-year-old sister rule. Like, explain that post to your
I do like that rule. Like, yeah.
But what you said, Andrea, is that after a certain period of time, and people kept saying, "Oh, John refused to follow the rules. John refused to follow the rules." You're damn right. They were absolutely right. Every time I read that, I'm like, "You're damn right." And I said, "I'm not following these rules because I feel these rules weren't fair and they weren't didn't have the public consent. It was moderation without representation." So, I mean, yeah, people are going to decide, "I'm not going to follow these rules." But to get to the point, I don't even think the community, if we're going to sit here and say IDIC and all that kind of stuff, you can't say that person can't be here no more. Unless they do something like ridiculous, just for being an asshole, or for even, you can't say that we decided as a community, because no one speaks for the community, that person can't be here no more. That's too much.
Except for the cases of, we don't have to, yeah, you're right.
So what's the longest ban, Andrew, that you think would be acceptable?
That's the thing. I think it should be based on the circumstance. Like, obviously, if you break any of the cardinal rules and you plan on going.
All right, we'll go back to my scenario. I'm saying a lot of things. I'm catching minor bans. At what point, I think an Australian put it, niggly dickhead post. What's the limit on that? 3 strikes in 6 months, or like, what's the longest ban for being an asshole?
I actually quite like the. I know you asked Andrea, but I actually quite like the suggestion from the moderators of you get a cool down period and then you get moderated for some time, where your posts go into a queue and then they.
I absolutely, I find that offensive, but as a personal level of I'm an adult. I have a whole thing even outside the trek. If I can digress for a moment, why does everything have to rhyme? To wear my seatbelt, I got to click it or ticket, so I don't drive into water, turn around, don't drown. Why does the government treat me like fucking Dr. Seuss?
Because the average person is Dr. Seuss.
Yeah, you're right. No, you're right. There's an epidemic. You're right.
Well, it's not that. It's not even that. It's not even the average. It's when you're doing things, when you're trying to educate and teach or inform, you have to go to the lowest common denominator.
Yeah. You
don't target the middle, you target the bottom. So click it or ticket is the rule because it's catchy and it puts people in there.
If you lose.
Yeah, it's something that the lower part of the target audience can grok.
So let's not do that. I don't like to have to filter people. Or someone said that John's not banned, he's muted, he's shushed. And that pissed just the shush part. I'm like, don't fucking shush me.
That's a poor phrase.
No, but what really offended me was, you know why that happened? It took a couple of Killer Bee completely locked out bans from before to make that happen. So I'm like, I'm shook because I had a point. I put it into practice. Yeah. So let's not go down. We don't have to regulate to the dumbest among us, because hopefully none of us are too stupid. Now some of us act stupid like myself. So let's just figure out what the rules are and an acceptable punishment to those rules. And I'm trying to ask Andrea, what's her worst punishment for minor infractions?
For minor infractions?
A series.
6 weeks.
6 weeks? All right, that's fine. What is that?
A series.
It's a month and a half.
Yeah, I think Sykes, what is it now?
It's like a month and a half.
Yeah, for 4 or 5 in a row. Yeah, someone might go on a rampage. It happens. We know what happens sometimes. And you might rack some up.
I mean, everybody has a bad week. Like, I mean, it happens and shit gets said. But if you get 3 infractions, I think 6 weeks would be fine. I like the idea of it being a rolling period, which they just did. That, the time frame keeps going.
All right, Charlie, we're almost out of time. I want you to address the people about a separate message board. Bring them back. What are you going to? They want something. We're going to compromise. They want something. We want something. You know.
Well,
how do you get them back?
I'll say this.
How do we heal? How do we come together in a Super Bowl of love? And get everybody back together.
I'm speaking to anybody out there in the community, whether your avatar is a white hat, whether you have a green badge above your name.
No, speak to the dissidents.
Okay.
TK thinks his numbers are more than he says, but that's good job for TK. I'm kind of diming him out about how to organize a resistance. But there's a group of people who are disillusioned, aren't happy, and some of them have decided to start a message board. And like I said, that's not cool. I want to bring them together with an unmoderated board, tell them why, to forget all that nonsense, and come back.
For 8 years, this organization has been one community. You know, we've gone through a lot of links. There's been, you know, pockets of dissent and side groups that took a while to join up, but we are a endangered species, the Trek gamer, and if we're stronger together than we are apart. Now, I want to apologize to anybody who feels like you haven't been listened to. I'm going to redouble my efforts to make sure you are listened to and to make sure that you have a voice. I run the Observation Lounge every month. You can come on and we can talk about anything that you want to talk about. I'm going to start doing office hours every week, which is just 2 hours where I'm on a Google Hangout in the chat room and you can come on and talk to me. My PM is open. My email is open. I'll give you my phone number if you want to call me and talk to me. But the majority of the people that I've seen with the white hats haven't brought stuff up to me privately. Now, things may have been brought up publicly and haven't been addressed to your satisfaction. That's an issue that we can continue to work on. We've changed a lot in 8 years because of the community response, and we're going to change more. A lot of the items on Thomas's list are already in the process of being dealt with. But you know, if what Thomas is saying is true, and that you have no confidence in me and no confidence in this organization, then you should go start a separate website. But I don't think that that's the right answer, and I don't think that's what the majority of you think. I think that you're frustrated. I think that your concerns are valid, and I am going to go out of my way to work with you to make them better, or to put you in touch with the people that can make them better. And if John and I can agree that we're stronger together than we are apart, I don't think anybody can. There isn't any situation that we can't resolve, any agreement that we can't, any issue that we can't discuss where we need to be separate communities. So let's talk through your issues. Let's get them in front of the tables of the people that can deal with them, or help you understand that you are being heard, and let's heal this community. Let's start on the path of healing this community, and that's never going to happen with a separate message board.
Andrew, before I go on my final rant to close it out, you got anything?
I would just add that, you know, we don't have all the answers for all the questions. That we are a community. We, you know, there are problems, yes, and we are working on addressing them. And if you have ideas on how to address them, like, we want to hear them. We want you to talk to us about what you think would make it better. And, you know, I think that people maybe just don't feel like they were being heard, but we want to hear you, and we want to work on how to do that, and how to do that more effectively.
All right. At the risk of offending both you guys, the fundamental difference I have is a lot of the we's in a lot of the communities that are just being said a lot. And this might just be my crazy head, but I think Ben House had a good analogy about the wave, and then something else about community. Too much community leads to groupthink, and it leads to us versus them. I don't think we're not a community. The CC's not a community. We are a collection of communities, play groups, and then unfortunately some people who just don't have a play group. The message board is the meeting place for all the communities. Now, yeah, overall, I don't think community I don't think there's another word we can use, but so when we start saying one community, you get into that straight through community, that group think, that leads to bad things. And I have a problem with the message boards. Even the other side is like, oh, good luck with that. If you don't like it, go start your own message board. If they have the money to do it, they have the resources, go let them. And Charlie said it. We can't afford that. This is the message board. We could afford that during the Decipher days, because Decipher was the meeting place, no matter what. And you could have a team jersey, you could have a Minnesota board, you could have Charlie's website. We can't afford that anymore. We can only afford one meeting place, and we got to be careful about groupthink. About we got to see it from every angle, and because people get turned off by that. People get turned off on becoming like an empire type thing. I'm losing my train of thought, so I'll just shut my pie hole. But let's, Andrew, you see what I'm trying to say? Like, everything you said was okay.
I do see what you're trying to say.
That was incorrect. Nothing you said was wrong, but you said, like,
no.
We community, what we want to do, like, you're in a position of we got to come to you. Now that we're all together, it was that people have to come to the community, come to the committee, and it's just one. Charlie, 8 years ago, when Decipher folded, Charlie became the leader because he never acted like it, and two, he was the only guy who could unite all the clans. He was the only guy that Minnesota liked, Jersey liked, Germany liked, like Charlie. So, and that's kind of, the last couple of years, it's been a lot of no budging, a lot of no compromise. But that's changed now. We've moved on. So we got to get more us and less community, and less like, let's just get to the table. Let's just set the table and try to get everybody there. And we got to forget that separate message board. TK is not going to like this show because we're just I'm against it. I was against it when Charlie suggested it. I was against when TK suggested it on both sides of the issue. So let's look into the future. Let's let Sykes do what he's got to do, and let's get an unmoderated message board where people have a release valve, and we can go from there. Right, Charlie? Is that acceptable?
I don't disagree with anything you said. I am not a dictator. I am not dear leader. I am not an emperor. I am a leader of this community. This collective of communities. That's a good way to put it.
There you go. Collective. Very collective. Oh,
we have to accept that all of us have to accept that there are going to be things that don't go our way. I have to accept that. John has to accept that. Andrea has to accept that. Every volunteer has to accept that. Every player in every player group has to accept that they're not going to get everything the way they want. But as long as we have a meeting place where we can get together and talk about the game and share our stories and meet other people and go to events and have fun, then we're doing it right. And if we've lost our way from that, then we need to get it back. I don't believe that any issue is insurmountable. I say come to me because I happen to be in the position where I can get a lot of stuff done. So it's not come to me because I'm sitting up on a hill and I'm making you come to me. Come to me because I can help you. That's when I say come to me. It's because I'm empowered to do things. So if you want to get changes made,
I could have said things a lot simpler in a nerd podcast. That Charlie's the board queen. He's the one who brings order out of chaos. And I called you a queen, Charlie. I think that's what I really wanted to do this whole time.
Disparagement.
Yeah. I don't think it's disparagement. You want to be a queen. I support everybody's lifestyles. All right.
I have a pony as my Avatar. I can't argue with you. So,
yeah. My youngest son watches the ponies. I can't, what are you gonna do? All right, that's the end of the show. Hopefully, we can start mending fences and letting people act like jackasses, because we need people to act like jackasses. Thanks, Andrea, for barging in yet again.
Oh, for God's sake.
Charlie, thanks for coming on. Like Greasy Ducato, kicking both the end of the Discord file. Good night.